If not, a mech with fast mobility and strong firepower. Why the delay? Many foreign experts are equally interested in this video. They discussed the origin of the video and whether the mecha inside the video is real or not. Many experts had their own opinions. At the same time, this video also attracted the attention of officials from various countries. Like Mechanical Empire, they were unable to recognize any editing or special effects in the video. It was like a documentary about war and mecha at the same time. Military experts from all over the world analyzed it like crazy. The results were the same as Mechanical Empire. The mechs in the video were real. Not only were the mechs real, but the war inside was also real. The races in the video were all yellow. Certain symbols have a strong oriental element. Everything points to a mysterious country in the east. Mechanical Empire. The Mechanical Empire has developed mechs and even used them in combat. The countries are dumbfounded. In terms of technology, it's me, the eagle's nest. Who do you think you are? It's impossible. It's a fake. The countries couldn't help but cautiously test the Mechanical Empire. Rabbit, is that mech real? Inside the Counter-Strike game. Mecha training camp. After 2 or 3 training sessions, the fighters had matured much more. 30 seconds to go. A warrior in each class reported the time. At the same time, all the fighters in each military region began to contract. Contrary to that, the distance between each military zone began to pull away. 10 seconds. Bullets loaded. Missiles ready to fire. Energy shields open. 1. The word 1 fell, and pills flew between all the military districts. In a few days' time, the melee between the warriors had become a military region war. After all, which military district doesn't have some conflicts between them? It's okay if they don't run into each other, but since they do, hey, you're welcome. Whoever has the biggest fist is the truth. The terrifying bullets and missiles were able to eliminate 90% of the mechs present. The remaining mechs naturally began to fight, until there was only one mech left in the entire camp. The training camp ended. All fighters stand by. Mecha combat training begins. Map, Storm Canyon. Battle rules. 2 classes will be merged into one map. 4 mechs. The rest of the fighters are on the human side. The mechs break through the human side and capture the energy core. The human side fails. Humans annihilate the mechs or kill the person piloting the mechs. Human side succeeds. If the mecha succeeds in getting the energy core or wipes out all the humans, the mecha side wins. No resurrection mode is set for this game. Weapons of mass destruction will be given randomly in this game. Single RPG, magnetic mine, laser gun, hand-thrown grenades, heat flamer, asterisk. The mecha battle begins. 2 squads of fighters entered a map, except for 4 fighters who were lucky enough to be the drivers of the mechs. The other fighters were only able to choose an ordinary human identity. The good thing was that compared to the original game settings, they were able to make a full weapon selection. Haha, brothers, it's not that we don't give you face. The 4 warriors harnessing the mechs laughed madly and harnessed their mechs and charged straight out. For them who had already experienced several mecha battles, they were extremely familiar with the control of their mechs at this time. Deeply familiar with the strength of the mech's energy shield. The 4 of them unanimously chose to fight quickly. The rest of the fighters quickly began to set up their defenses. Heavy machine guns, sniper rifles. This is the choice of all the fighters. But compared to the mech's thick energy shield, if you want to rely on your guns to destroy all 4 mechs, basically impossible. Weakness sniping. Find heavy weapons and attack. The squad leaders of the 2 squads immediately issued combat orders. Weakness snipers sniped the driver inside the mechs. Meanwhile, the rest of the fighters quickly searched for the big killing weapons provided by the game. Take cover. I found hand-thrown grenades. I'll blow them up. A warrior couldn't help but shout. The rest of the fighters fired their guns for cover. This warrior quickly approached the mechs. When he was more than 10 meters away, he raised his hand-thrown grenade. Weighing no more than 3 pounds, for a warrior to throwing a distance of more than 10 meters was no problem. Throw. The warrior raised his hand and threw it. Huh. The warrior mech on the other side raised its huge arm. Home run. The grenade bounced back. It landed directly in the pile. Fuck. F***CK. Bro, you're a mole. Jeez. Can someone tell me this thing doesn't just explode when you touch it? Half of the human side was directly eliminated. The remaining 3 mechs took the opportunity to make a direct fire raid. The mechs were all victorious. In another map, a warrior found the adsorption magnetic mine. After sacrificing several defender fighters, this warrior finally placed the adsorption mine on the mech's body. Then, the mech turned around and charged at the defender's fighters with all its might. Boom. Brothers, I'm going. I'll leave the rest to you. Mecha, you guys are playing tricks. Brothers, be merciful with your feet. I'd rather be fucking killed than to be trampled to death. With a scream, Mecha wins. Fuck. I want to be a mech too. Other than Barrett, the other weapons are basically useless. Haha. Guys, that mecha game just now was awesome. When is there going to be a mecha versus mecha battle? This is too unfriendly for the human side. After 2 hours of mecha versus mecha, countless warriors couldn't help but spit. Henry, isn't this mecha side too strong? Jonah Langley looked at the screen and also asked with some curiosity. Henry bristled. Mecha strong? This was before Barrett's group sniping tactics had been discovered. Not to mention that the age of artifacts hadn't yet descended. Back then, it was humans chasing after mechs. That said, the artifact era was unknown after the game was anthropomorphized. There's still no such thing. And my angel? A dog system that requires me to favor an update purchase? Henry's heart is broken. Checked up the emotional value on the panel. In just a few days, it's already 200,000. The more the player's emotional values fluctuate, the more emotional values there are. To put it another way, was it true that the more players were abused, the more emotional value they had? Henry couldn't help but heave a smile as he looked at the warriors on the screen. Business was important. 200,000 emotion values. Although it wasn't able to redeem the entire mecha design drawings, but it could be exchanged for a mecha energy core. The first generation of the Storm mecha was developed by the Gideos Corporation. Its energy core was based on the engine. The main energy used was gasoline. Henry was a bit incomprehensible. Of course, the technology in Counter-Strike could not be speculated by normal reasoning. The human side of technology was in the 20s. As for the Company Corporation, it had advanced to the alien age. Give me a fucking cup of Emeraldine. I'd like to join Compton too. It's still gasoline technology, but its engine is far more advanced than the engines of this world. Otherwise, it couldn't be used as the main power source of the mech. Henry exchanged its drawing data directly and notified the expert group in the base. Mecha Core engine design data and drawings? The expert group that heard this news rushed out in a swarm. This group of Mechanical Empire's top power experts and mechanical experts were extremely interested in the core engine of the mech. Were incomparably interested in the core engine of the mecha. Only when Henry took it out, the entire expert group was directly confused. Gasoline? Engine? You're telling me this is the engine of a mecha? Henry, you've been working on Transformers? Is it possible that this mecha needs to add gasoline halfway through the battle? The panel of experts couldn't believe it. The construction of this engine is a little different than what we know. Instead of using the traditional ignition to explode heat, it's similar to breaking down gasoline. This kind of efficiency for the utilization of energy is almost 10 times more than what we have now. Henry is definitely a man of God. How could he come up with such an ingenious design? This is definitely a milestone in the history of the internal combustion engine. After looking at the engine construction diagram Henry took out, the expert group changed their previous skepticism, and all of them sighed with exclamation as well as excitement. Looking at Henry, his eyes were glowing, and he looked like he wanted to peel Henry's head open to take a look. In the entire world, there were no more than 5 people who knew about the system. Everyone else naturally thought that these things were Henry's masterpiece. Henry couldn't refute it and was too embarrassed to admit it. Simply take Jonah Langley to learn mecha piloting. This girl looked long and tall, but her body was not heavy at all. Sitting on the body, it is really a flying feeling. Don't get me wrong, because there is only one position in the mech. Henry, in order to better teach the effect, Henry can only entrust himself to be the driver's seat for once. I don't know if you like the storyline of interacting with a girl. I'll write more if you like it. Outside, with the nations having a heart, there's news that the mechs in the video are from Mechanical Empire. The news quickly spread. The Mechanical Empire has developed the newest type of mecha. It has even been used in actual combat. The video was the best evidence. Mechanical Empire has such a weapon, but they didn't announce it. It was obvious that it had some other bad intentions. The Mechanical Empire threat theory was once again advocated by many countries. Only this time, there were quite a few people who actually believed it. After all, the video evidence was there. In this situation, the Mechanical Empire's top management launched an emergency meeting. This time, the countries are coming on strong. I guess they won't give up until we give them results. I heard that the core engine of the mech has been recovered by Henry. That proves that it won't be long before we can have a real mecha. Then let's be honest with the public. Just tell them that the mechs are just from the game. If other people think we have it, then we must deny it after we have it. Strive to give certain guys a big surprise sometimes. The meeting simply drew a conclusion for this matter. Meanwhile, Mechanical Empire finally made a move. The video is from one of the latest games developed by my Mechanical Empire. In the near future, the game will be online. This statement left the globe almost dumbfounded. A game? Impossible. How could that absolutely real video scene be a game? Eagle Jam Nation, do you take me for a fool? Can't tell the difference between a game and reality? You, Mechanical Empire, have definitely built mechs. Surprisingly, not a single person in the world believed Mechanical Empire's proclamation. Isn't the game going to be online in a while? Won't we know if it's real or not when the game goes live? A sentence on the forums immediately became the big smart of the moment. Yes, the game will be online in a short time. What's the point of telling the difference now? They're going to start working on the game's promotional video. Henry was immediately excited when he heard this news from Mechanical Empire's executives. When the game went live, it represented a large amount of emotional value, representing new updated content. It represented his Emerald agent, as well as a girl. Henry immediately started working on the game's plot as quickly as if he had been pumped with chicken blood. Inside the Counter-Strike game, close to half a month of training allowed all the fighters to start familiarizing themselves with the game's modes. The guns, as well as the mechs, were already as good as water for the fighters to maneuver. It was only that after a long time of this kind of sparring, it was inevitable that they would also be a bit tired. Today we're going to have a practical training. The general's words left all the warriors in no mood to answer. General, which day aren't we in a real battle? If we don't die 100 times a day, we would feel abnormal ourselves. What we're going to do today is a new way of playing, battling against game monsters. The general's next sentence immediately energized the originally uninterested warriors. Battling against game monsters? After entering the game for such a long time, they really had never seen a game monster. This mode will activate the rank system. Killing monsters will earn you merit points, enough merit points to upgrade your rank. Ranks will not be linked to reality. However, at the end of every month, there will be a rank test. If your rank keeps rising in the game, after accumulating 3 times, your real rank will be raised. On the contrary, if your in-game rank keeps decreasing, after accumulating it 3 times, your real rank will drop with it. At the same time, merit points will be zeroed out and reaccumulated in 3 months. Remember, when you die, your merit points for the game are zeroed out. At the same time, it will also reduce the merit points you have accumulated. When the general finished talking about the rules, all the warriors were moved. In the current peaceful era, it was almost difficult to advance in rank. Now, the game offered them a jump in the road to prosperity. Iron Sun Lowell Defense Battle opens. As the system's queue began, all warriors began to officially enter the map. It was different from the number of people set in the original defense battle game, because there were no more settings such as blood boosting skills. So it was still mainly 2 classes of 24 people entering. With regards to this number, Henry was skeptical when he was setting it up that whether it was possible to pass the defense battle. After all, this was a completely anthropomorphic environment, without artifacts, without skills, in the face of an enemy hundreds of times their size. The guns of more than 20 people had absolutely no firepower suppression, but this was also the best way to exercise the warriors' combat abilities. First level, hold the entrance for 10 minutes. When all the warriors heard the voice, eyes looked around. The completely alloyed base was filled with coldness as well as a sense of future technology. The warriors looked at the completely real environment around them. One by one, they were curious with excitement. What's that outside the fence? Many fighters quickly realized the movement at the periphery of the base. Compared to the game Counter-Strike, the monsters that could only be seen through the screen. Now after being fully anthropomorphized, every monster looked extremely real and terrifying. The combination of flesh and machinery. The images alone gave the fighters a great impact. The battle begins. All the warriors quickly raised their guns. At the same time, the fighters standing on the bridge could see outside the fence. The monsters' figures seemed endless. Even though they knew that this was a game, all the fighters still felt chills running through their bodies. This was a human being facing unknown creatures. This is the instinctive fear of human beings when faced with unknown creatures, as well as the terror of numbers far exceeding their own. When the first monster touched the fence, the battle began. Gunshots, shouts, and the sound of bombs exploded instantly. Many of the fighters stayed far away from the fence. After all, not knowing anything about the monsters, they didn't dare to approach. Started attacking across the fence. It was good that the monsters at the very beginning weren't that strong. Especially the damage to the fence wasn't that great. After a minute, many warriors were even relaxed. These monsters looked strong, but as long as they were able to hit the vitals, they could still be easily killed. Only this relaxation, with the arrival of the second monster, ended. The second type of small monster could completely jump over the fence. Smaller in size and faster. It was good that the warriors were farther away. However, after a large number of jumping bugs rushed over, the fighters started to get their hands dirty. 3 minutes. 58 fighters in the map were completely wiped out. In 4 minutes, more than 200 warrior classes were wiped out. At the same time, spider monsters began to appear. The spider monsters were able to destroy the fences as fast as possible. In 6 minutes, only 12 fighter squads were left on the map. 8 minutes, total annihilation. It's almost like this isn't a game that people can live through. F***CK, I really want to meet this game producer. +1. Damn, getting bitten to death by bugs just hurts too much. I realize that I'm afraid I have an intensive phobia. In the recent period of time, I guess I won't be able to have military training. Isn't it too hard to get past with our weapons? The countless warriors' tirades made Henry feel doubly relieved. The emotional value grew too fast. There were no more skills, no more artifacts. Iron Sam Lowell was even more difficult than when the game first came out. But was the game meant for you guys to play? It was meant to train, to hone you guys. Henry Righteous. Meanwhile, Henry had already begun editing the game's promotional video. After all, the game has been completely anthropomorphized. The game's promotional video naturally couldn't be the same as before. Battles, mechs, steel monsters. The key was that there were no more skills, no more various artifacts. This game promotional video no longer looked like a game, but like a real battlefield documentary. Of course, the game's theme song couldn't be spared. Only the world doesn't have Jai. Henry is only able to sing by himself once. The familiar music played. On this windy battlefield, Storm Boy makes his entrance. In triumph over the blaze-heavy roar. And clamor throughout the world. The smoke flies wild with the signal. Henry's fairly passable singing voice rang out inside the base. The first person to hear it was naturally Jonah Langley. This was Henry singing. It seemed like it was also a song that he hadn't heard before. Jonah Langley came to Henry's studio. The screen was playing the game that Henry had edited. With the hot lyrics and music, Jonah Langley couldn't help but think of the mechs in the game. If you were to drive a mech with this song playing in it, wouldn't that be superb? Henry's cut of the game's promo and song was quickly submitted. General Lowell was the first to see it. When he heard that blood-boiling song, he felt that his body was out of control. No way. Let's enter the game first and fight those bug monsters. With this song, General Lowell felt that his combat power could be doubled. The promotional video for Counter-Strike was unanimously approved by Mechanical Empire's executives. The game's launch date is tentatively set for a month from now. The game's extrasensory equipment has been developed to the best of its ability. By the time the game goes live, there could be roughly 50 million finished products, excluding the rest of the military 5 million. The actual game equipment that can be sold is only 45 million sets. Not enough, not enough. This game is bound to be expanded globally. There's no need for high secrecy as we continue to expand production. Mechanical Empire's executives gave the order immediately. At the same time, the game will be publicized to the fullest extent. All Mechanical Empire's publicity channels will promote the game. At 7:30 p.m., Mechanical Empire News was broadcasted on all channels. Next up is a promotional video for our country's upcoming game, Counter-Strike. The two hosts used such statements. There was no padding, no explanation. After one sentence, there was Henry's edited promo for the game. The opening scene was a rocket coming out of the sky. The sense of image simply overflowed beyond the screen. Countless old people sitting in front of the TV were a bit confused. Today's news is a bit different. What is this? A promotional video for a game? Since when can games be publicized by Dragon TV? Good lord, is this a mecca? Grandson, come see the news. What's so great about the news? I'm not watching it. The game is on the news. The game? Grandpa, you're senile, aren't you? Crap, it's really a game promotion. Countless families had such conversations. One by one, the youngsters were shouted out from their rooms by their elders. It was almost as if they had watched the game promo with a good glance. Compared to the previous mysterious video, this time, the game's promotional video almost revealed the game's meticulousness and realism. Especially the theme song. It made countless men, young and old, all warmed up. The theme song, in particular, made all the men, young and old alike, get hot and bothered. At the same time, Mechanical Empire's official channels are promoting the game. Mechanical Empire Military Twitter, Mechanical Empire Navy Twitter, Mechanical Empire Air Force Twitter, Mechanical Empire Embassy website. Hundreds of Mechanical Empire's official microblogs and websites are promoting the game. At the same time, Mechanical Empire's buses, shopping malls, and other places where advertisements can be found are all advertising the game. All the places where advertisements could be made were all filled with Counter-Strike game promotional videos. Within a day, Mechanical Empire's blood-curdling song rang out all over the country. On this windy battlefield, Storm Boy makes his debut. In triumph over the blaze-heavy roar that, and clamor throughout the world. The smoke flies wildly in the signal. That previous video turned out to really be gameplay video footage. All of Mechanical Empire's players were nonplussed. This gameplay video was filmed by a real person, right? Why else would it be the same as the real thing? What? This game is an immersive virtual game? Isn't this something from science fiction? We, Mechanical Empire, have actually researched it. Mechanical Empire players went crazy with excitement. The various countries were even less calm. Mechanical Empire, is this mech really fake? Is it just something in a virtual game? No. When did Mechanical Empire's virtual technology reach such a high level? There were no mechs, but this virtual technology didn't have to be inferior to mechs at all. Mechanical Empire, something's wrong. Each country couldn't help but send a large number of spies into the Mechanical Empire. No matter what the cost, they must find out what the Mechanical Empire is up to. Inside the Counter-Strike game, it's the 5th day of the defense of Lowell in Iron Forest. All the soldiers are silent, with 2 guns in their hands. One is a cannon Barrett. All the soldiers had almost one in hand. The other one depends on the interest of the soldiers. Some use the RPK, some use the AKA series. All in all, it was basically based on the amount of magazines. This made Henry, who was watching, quite pleased. Worthy of being a warrior, adapting to the game. And sensitivity to the battlefield was high. In that world, players didn't know how many times they had died before they summarized the rules of using guns, especially with the knowledge of monsters. It made the warriors not feel so much pressure psychologically. Of course, the pressure was still there. Bro, watch and give me a shot when I'm about to be bitten. Wasteful, isn't it? Where's the glory bullet? Fuck, I'm afraid it'll be too late by then. You're meditating on the dog thief who made the game. Thanks, bro. I feel like I'm filled with power inside my body. Nima, is there such a thing as playing a game like this? Playing my game and calling me a thief? I'm doing this for your own good, okay? This is for the sake of honing you guys, okay? I swear it's definitely not just for the mood value. It's also not for my Emerald Agent and girls. Henry, looking at the screen of the fighters, is a little weak. The battle started. The sound of one warrior's gunshot rang out, extremely rhythmic. If one looked closely, one could realize that. Almost 100 rounds of bullets, however, only 10 did not hit the head. Unfortunately, there was no headshot cue. Otherwise, these warriors might be able to see a slice of golden heads. 10 minutes have passed. There are still half of the map warriors still survive. The warriors who survived were in tears. Dog thief, we finally survived. I don't know how many warriors raised the sky and roared. All fighters please enter the elevator area. The attack will begin again soon. A mechanical beep sounded. The roars of all the fighters came to an abrupt end. Don't let us see you, dog thief. Asterisk. Hold the energy signal tower for 15 minutes and wait for the distress signal to be received. All the fighters entered the inside of the base with the elevator. An icy cold mechanical voice sounded along with it. All the fighters quickly began to prepare. The first thing they saw were 3 large attack weapons. The main cannon in the center, as well as the secondary cannons on both sides that. It made the warriors' eyes light up. This was finally giving heavy weapons. Have the game makers changed their ways? The fighters immediately began to control the 3 turrets. The rest of the fighters could only carry their guns and hide behind the turrets. The next moment, the sturdy base door was directly shattered. A large number of bug monsters ran wildly towards the inside. All the fighters fired directly. At the same time, the warrior controlling the main cannon couldn't hide the leap of joy on his face. Aimed at the bugs coming in through the doorway. Pulled the trigger. Not much of a boom sounded. A bolt of fire shot out with it, blasting all 7 or 8 of the bug monsters in front of them to smithereens. Bull! This warrior couldn't help but shout excitedly. The rest of the secondary cannons on both sides fired along with it. Although the power was not as powerful as the main cannon, it was still fiercer than the guns in hand. The only drawback was that the firing frequency was a bit low. Haha, brothers, I guess I'm going to take first place in the meritocracy today. The warrior firing the cannon arrogantly laughed. The mech warehouse has been opened. Warriors can pilot the machine mechs. Mecha? The warriors who were fighting couldn't help but stare. This level could open mechs. With a mech, who can fight me? F***CK. Mecha didn't say so earlier. I'll grab a ball cannon. The warrior on the cannon couldn't help but burst out in foul language. The sides of the base lit up with light. The warrior at the very back had an excited look on his face. Close to the water was the first to get the moon. This mech is fiercer than any mech we've seen before. The 2 warriors who were driving the behemoth mechs said excitedly. The rest of the warriors were red-eyed like rabbits. No, next time, say anything to grab a mech and try it out. I want the mech too. The main gunner warrior had a face of envy. The next moment, a laser shot in the distance. The main gunner warrior hadn't felt the pain yet. I'm hanging. This time the hanging was painless. How did I hang up? A new type of monster has appeared. Everyone be careful. The squad leader immediately warned. Laser gunners, also laser monsters. Woe is not alone. In addition to the laser monsters, there were also giant monsters with a height and body size of more than 2 meters. Giant gadfly scorpion. Damn, this monster can't be killed. Bullets can't even penetrate this monster's skin. It's a killer. Shit. It can't even be killed by one shot from the main gun. Look at my mech. The battlefield was once again chaotic. The good news was that this kind of monster was rare. With a concentrated fire attack, this monster was not unkillable. At the same time, snipers were specially detached. Snipers were also assigned to snipe at the laser monsters. The situation seems to be getting better for a short time. Until the airplane appeared. That is, the laser flying fish. It looked cute in the game. But when the game became anthropomorphic, this weapon meant smaller size, faster speed, and high attack. Destroy them all. All out. All dead. All warrior classes failed and died on the second level. No more superfluous words. I'm willing to put up a month's salary to offer a bounty for news of the game maker. Add me. And me. Me. I can't do anything to him in reality. But if he dares to enter the game, I'll show him. Games are not for fucking torture. Slander. Naked slander. Is that torture? It's a grind, brothers. Henry sat back in his chair with a scowl on his face. A small, delicate hand squeezed slightly on his shoulder. Jonah Langley's cheeks were red, and it was a good thing no one was around to notice. This game was good, but it was just too physically taxing. She also didn't expect that Henry, in order to prevent her from falling down on the mech, he ended up planting himself on the ground first, resulting in a fall on his neck. Only, Jonah Langley was also a bit curious. Do injuries in the game really feed back into the real player's body? Mechanical Empire's campaign for the game. It's been a direct fire almost all the way overseas. An immersive game? Isn't that the ultimate dream of all gamers? When players around the world heard this news, they couldn't help but cheer. In addition to the game production companies, the giants of major foreign game companies were worried. But even more worried were the gaming giants within Mechanical Empire, Goose. The appearance of this kind of virtual game means the renewal of the gaming world. Goose, who had almost monopolized the Mechanical Empire's games. Goose, who used to monopolize the games of the Mechanical Empire, is bound to suffer the strongest impact. And this time, the publisher of the game was Mechanical Empire. Even if you gave Goose 100 guts, they wouldn't dare to do anything small. So what should we do? If they can't use any other means, Goose can only use his specialty, plagiarism. We, Goose, are going to make a mecha game. It can't be called plagiarism. After all, that game hasn't even come out yet, right? Goose is not the only one. The rest of the foreign game production company giants also made the same decision, taking advantage of the fact that Mechanical Empire mechs aren't even online yet, and clamoring for heat. They ate a wave of dividends first. It seems like the Warriors have a big prejudice against me. Henry looked at the emotion value, which had rapidly accumulated to 300,000. He shook his head with an innocent expression. Forget it, for the sake of the emotional value. I won't bother with these unintelligent warriors. After all, this is the real battle against the odds. Big Kryptonian immortal battle, medium Kryptonian shun battle, small Kryptonian war, no Kryptonian war. These 4 quotes can be said to perfectly explain the later stages of the counter-war. You guys think this is hard? Really give you late immortal war. All must be destroyed. Back to the topic. With 300,000 emotional value, there are 2 options. One is to redeem the rest of the mecha design drawings. One is to redeem the second movie, Iron Ambition. After thinking about it, it seems that the mecha engine has not yet been researched and understood. Henry simply redeemed Iron Ambition. After all, after redeeming this movie, after all, after redeeming this datasheet, he was a little bit closer to the girl and the Emerald Agent. With the exchange of Iron Ambition, Henry's confidence has been boosted. Henry's bottom line is a little bit stronger. The difficulty of the tanks. Hey, Henry thought of the warriors gnashing of teeth. Heart more and more comfortable. My brothers, the road that my brother has traveled is still long. Let's take our time. It's another day of yelling at thieving game makers. Mechanical Empire fighters are full of energy. Today is the 15th day of Iron Sam Lowell map mode. After all this time, all the fighters' marksmanship has improved at a rapid rate. At the same time, the fighters' physical endurance and reaction speeds have gotten a lot stronger. Of course, it wasn't without its bad aspects. Recently, the chances of the warriors bursting into foul language kept rising. At the same time, the warriors were overreacting somewhat. It's alright to always leave the last bullet in the gun, or simply carrying a grenade directly on their body. This caused some headaches for the generals of the various legions. Of course, they understood. After all, there was a grenade hanging from their waist right now. Dog thief game maker. We warriors will not be divided, and we will not be able to stand against you. The game has already proceeded to this extent. No matter what, we're going to fight through the boss today. We absolutely cannot let the Shannon, Haidong, military region win first place. As long as our military region gets first place, I promise, I'll help you guys to inquire about the game producer. The progress of each military region was progressing at about the same pace. Today, each military region was mobilizing to take this first place. As for this mobilization condition, hey, is there a better condition than that, game producer? After hearing the mobilization of their own general, all the soldiers were excited as if they had been pumped with chicken blood. Charge! I can die, but the game must pass. There has never been a moment when the soldiers of the entire military region were so united. The general looked at this scene with relief in his heart. But I want to see the game maker too. There's no news from the top. If the game is approved, how can I fulfill my promise to the soldiers? How can I fulfill my promise to the soldiers? Henry, would you like to meet the warriors? General Lowell looked at Henry, faced with an inexplicable smile. To be honest, this mobilization was still spearheaded by him. I didn't realize that all the military districts had followed suit. Wasn't this fucking embarrassing for him? There was nothing he could do. General Lowell had to come to Henry himself. He wanted Henry to give him an excuse. A meeting? Do you think I'm stupid or blind? Henry crossed General Lowell's eyes. A meeting is possible, but, General Lowell, you'll probably want to discuss this with the top. The smile on General Lowell's face stiffened. Henry, right now, was Mechanical Empire's top secret baby. If he hadn't taken advantage of the situation, it was estimated that not even he could have known about Henry's existence. Better think about how to deal with the other generals and warriors first. Inside the Counter-Strike game, after a few days of familiarization, the fighters could already maintain a great survival rate within the second level. However, no warrior had actually seen the final boss yet. Subcannons on both sides deal with flying monsters. Snipers are ready to deal with the laser monsters. Mechs take cover fire. Main cannon, you're only responsible for making up for the lack of attacks. With the battle assignments, the fighters could maximize their attacks. This speed of efficient strikes that finally allowed the warriors to find the true feeling of the battlefield. 15 minutes passed quickly. Fortunately, the corpses were refreshed at any time. Otherwise, it was estimated that the base would be full of corpses by now. Rescue signal has been sent. Rescue forces are on their way. A mechanical voice made the hearts of all the warriors lose their minds. It was finally over. Finally, they could see the final boss. It was also at this time that, in front of the warriors' eyes, a huge purple ball of light appeared. This was the arrival of reinforcements. As the purple light faded, what appeared in front of the warriors was a huge mechanical monster. Destroyer. Southern Cross. Compared to the game, the Southern Cross in reality was filled with an unrivaled oppressive force. The 3 laser attack cannons on its head were flashing with electricity. Just looking at it sent chills down my spine. Final mission, destroy the destroyer. After hearing the mechanical voice, countless warriors couldn't help but swear. F***CK, I thought it was coming to support us. Shit, not reinforcements, but enemy troops? Isn't this fucking boss a little too exaggerated? Dog Thief game producer, I'll fight you Asterisk. Attack, attack. With Mecha as the main force, attack. Inside every map, resounded with the heartbreaking shouts of the warriors. Even though they held a huge numerical advantage, but under the countless shells bombarding that destroyer on the opposite side. Except for the mechs that were able to resist the attacks. The other human forms almost died when they touched it. Emergency mechs have been activated. Fighters can look for suitable mechs as soon as possible. A mechanical voice rang out. The ground shook, and dozens of mechs floated out of the ground with it. Grass Mud Horse. Why didn't you take out the mechs earlier? If I let me run into you, I will absolutely kill you 800 times. Dog Thief producer, I'm at loggerheads with you. One by one, the warriors cursed in their hearts. Then they ran towards the mecha over there at an extremely fast speed. In this situation, without a mech, facing this kind of terrifying boss, there was only one way to die. One by one, the fighters entered the mechs and attacked. Compared to the bulky destroyer in the game, after anthropomorphizing, this destroyer had simple intelligence. Not to mention the various cannonball attacks. Its body's physical attacks were the most terrifying. Even a 4-meter-tall mech in front of this destroyer was just a bigger bug. Any random movement of its body, as long as it touches it, it will be able to crush it. The difficulty of the final boss game is just a few dozen times harder than the game. Almost a couple dozen times harder or so. Henry says it's definitely not intentional. The simulation of the game itself increases in difficulty. Even the last mecha, Henry was unable to see past it and set it up on purpose. Otherwise, it's estimated that within a few years, this mode would not have been cleared by anyone. Even so, at this moment, nearly 1/3 of the warrior class, all of them were wiped out. They haven't even made it to the mechs. They've already been wiped out. After the mechs appeared, the battle was finally not one-sided. The boss isn't moving. We're about to win. Without the blood markers, fighters couldn't tell just how far the monster had fought. But watching the destroyer stop moving, one of the warriors couldn't help but shout excitedly. Brothers, seize the time to escape. Henry looked at the warriors in the screen with leaping colors on their faces and shook his head slightly with the gesture of a person who had come over. That wasn't him dying, but he was about to zoom out. The next moment, the 3 laser cannons on the destroyer's head lit up. The blinding light quickly spread outwards along with it. It was different from the slow pace inside the game. The speed of the destroyer here was extremely fast. The 3 laser lights swept gently. A mech along with the warrior inside, directly vaporized. The boss's sluggishness directly caused the remaining fighters in nearly 50% of the map to be annihilated. Each warrior's face turned black. They didn't want to say anything now. They just wanted to take their guns and raid that game producer. Designing this kind of game, are you sure you're a human being? The bombastic boss battle that ended with the total annihilation of the army. This also made the generals breathe a sigh of relief, cursing in their hearts. This damn game. If you want to get rid of this boss, I guess it should still take some time. Meanwhile, there were less than 7 days until the game went live. At this juncture, Goose first launched a mecha game. Realistic game publicity. Handsome mecha designs. Many players who were already interested in mecha games were extremely moved, until they saw the price of nearly $200. Players' heart no more. although they didn't know how much the anthropomorphic game cost. But wouldn't it smell good to keep that money to buy an anime game? After all, the virtues of the Goose Game, which player is not clear. At the same time, each country's game production company giant. They have also pinched the time to go online with their mecha games. The publicity for each game was comparable to that of a movie, only it lacked the crucial bit of realism. Make these publicity look more like cartoons. But even so, it made many players excited. After all, it was a mecha game. Even if it's not as good as an anime game, even if it's not as good as a realistic game, it's not bad to play for a while, right? As a matter of fact, many game companies had this idea in mind. However, right at this moment, Mechanical Empire suddenly announced, "We're selling our game for $1. In 7 days, our game will be available for only $1. Are you really going to spend hundreds of dollars? You're really going to spend hundreds of dollars on a game that isn't even a simulation game?" Countless gamers are trying to get their money's worth out of their wallets. $1 in a simulation. It fucking smells. And that's not all. Mechanical Empire has officially set up a special program on mech games overnight, purchasing commercially available mecha games for demo play. Do you guys know what it means to? Do you know what it means to make CG with your heart and games with your feet? That's basically what all mecha games on the market are like. How can you expect a game made in less than a month? Can you expect a game made in less than a month to be as good as it is? Goose. All the major foreign game companies are dumbfounded. Isn't this too much for Mechanical Empire? Henry, the mastermind behind all of this, looked disdainful. You want to rub off on me? You're not worthy of it. What was Mechanical Empire thinking? A game with this level of realism. There's nothing wrong with selling a copy for hundreds of dollars. You're selling it for $1. What's wrong with you? $1? If it wasn't a bad game, Mechanical Empire would be a freebie. What's money? Mechs, laser guns, airships. Can you buy them with money? Mechanical Empire's idea is simple. After Mechanical Empire's military popularizes the game will be open to the world. The more players who play the game, the better. The game goes live in 7 days. Henry is counting the days. It's so boring. Henry gazed at Jonah Langley next to him. Jonah, would you like to experience the inner version of the game? The inner version of the game? Jonah Langley's face showed an eagerness to try. The game is more fun than the current version. Henry had an excited look on his face. The main thing is that inside the game, you can change your clothes as much as you want. Like the bunny girl now, the cat girl outfit. Meeting Jonah Langley's eyes, Henry couldn't continue with the latter words. Actually, it's just a game. Jonah Langley's cheeks reddened. So, is there only 2 outfits in the game?